Hey guys, before this audio begins, I just wanted to give a little bit of a warning. This audio contains possession themes, betrayal themes, and general horror. If horror is not your thing, then I'd stay away from this video. Anyway, have a good day, guys. You run, and run. Your lungs feel like they're about to give out. Your body feels like it's about to collapse at any moment from exhaustion, but you run all the same. Screams behind you. The guards screaming at you to stop. You don't know what you're doing, but you don't heed their warnings. You run and run. You wanted to defy your father. You didn't want to rule this land. You couldn't rule this land. Just a week ago, you were a peasant, just a simple peasant living among them. And now you were expected to lead a whole country. You couldn't. You wouldn't. Tears welled up in your eyes as you ran. All the guards chasing after you, screaming at you to stop. But as you passed the tree line, their screams got quieter. You didn't even know where you were as you ran to the forest. The forest right by the castle. As you ran deeper and deeper, soon you found yourselves lost among the trees. And when you finally were forced to stop and take a breath, you heaved and panted. You looked around. You could hear no one. You heard birds, though. Occasional wildlife jumping between the trees. You even saw a raccoon or two, and a few pixies fly by you. Your eyes went wide. Where were you, you wondered? After you'd caught your breath, you stood up and started to look around, trying to find your bearings. The place was strange. It's as if the forest stretched on for miles, but you just entered it. I mean, you were only like 2-minute run away, but you turned behind you and it's like you had walked for miles. You put a hand to your face, wiping away the sweat down from your brow, and then you stared down into the deep forest and got ready to walk. Each step crunched a leaf beneath your feet. Walking along, you see something in the distance, a giant tree. As you approached it, you heard laughter, gentle laughter. You tried to listen for it again, but it was gone. You could also faintly hear the sound of trumpets playing. Again, you turned towards the direction of the sound. It was gone. You walked around the giant tree, hoping to climb it, maybe. But the wood was too thick and too smooth, felt unnaturally smooth. You looked about the forest. Something about it just seemed so wrong. Like you were someplace you really shouldn't be. You stared out into the other trees, some distance between the big one and all the little ones by comparison, and you leaned against the trunk bark of it. You looked up in the sky, hoping to see some blue skies, to hopefully find some sort of light in this eerie place. But all you saw was clouded skies. You looked down at the ground, put your hand to the dirt. Again, it felt unnatural. The dirt was rough and tough, not at all soft like you'd been accustomed to. It was like stones. And as you focused on this dirt, you suddenly heard a voice. Wow. Not often someone gets lost in the forest, eh? A slim figure walked out from the tree line. He looked human, but some things weren't right. His arms just a little too long. His feet, his legs just a little too short. His chest and stomach looking strangely thin. Then those eyes, they were deep purple. Something desperately was not wrong with him. You tried to back up into the tree, but it didn't work as he approached. Oh, don't worry. I don't mean you any harm. Nice to meet ya. What's your name? You almost told him for a second, but you covered your mouth. He didn't know him. You shouldn't tell him your name. You crossed your head, shaking it. He seemed to have an annoyed expression on his face for a second, but then returned to his jubilant smile. And that's when you got to look at his teeth. They were bright yellow, sending even more fears into your chest. Well, I suppose we did just meet each other. So, how'd you get lost in a place like this? I mean, you had to have seen the signs, didn't you? You blinked. What signs, you wondered? You know, the signs that say, keep out, dangerous, monsters, deadly, you'll meet your end in the forest. You blinked. In your panic, you rushed by what looked like signs. And maybe that's why the guards are trying to stop you, you wondered. You shook your head. As you stood up again, you barely came up to the figure's chest. He was massive. And yet, he tried to look unthreatening, but in the most inhuman way possible. He sat down on the ground and had his legs bending behind him, instead of crisscross or sitting out with his legs in front. It's like he didn't understand how humans sat. And so, tell me, would you like to escape this forest? I can give you passage out. All you'd have to do is follow my lead. Does that sound like an agreeable thing? Your eyes went wide. A way out? You were eager to take it. After all, you were lost in this damn forest. Who wouldn't want to take that deal? You shook your head up and down, and he smiled again. Good. Well, to get started with you escaping this forest, I need your name, dear. And after all, I like to know who I'm helping. You sighed. You figured it couldn't hurt. As you said your name out loud, his grin got wider, and his eyes stared into yours. Thank you. It's very nice to have your name. Oh, but I bet you're famished. Here, have some cheese. It's nothing much, but it'll fill you up on our journey together. Don't worry, I'll do all the hard work. You'll be left to relax, as it were. You eyed him suspiciously and carefully took the cheese, smelling it for any kind of poison. It smelled all right as you took a bite. It tasted divine, a little fruity. As you swallowed the cheese, his grin got even wider. You felt like you were in danger but didn't know how. And finally he spoke again. Very, very good. You'll be well... you won't be hungry. Now, one final thing. To solidify this deal, do you agree to let me guide you for as long as I require? To guide you out of the forest and beyond. For me to take control. And for me to possess a way out? Hmm? You eyed his hand suspiciously, their fingers a little longer than you'd expect. You cooked your eyes back to him, his purple eyes staring into yours, almost looking feral. You were scared to shake his hand, and yet your hand gently went into his, and his hands gently went around yours. And then he pulled you close to him, rapidly, very fast. You were pushed into his chest. His grip tightened. You tried to push against him, and it didn't work. Thank you, dear. Now, let's get us out of here, shall we? He suddenly disappeared, but then your vision went black. But you were still conscious. You tried scrambling to touch your face, but you felt nothing. Your hands. You couldn't feel your hands. You tried to blink and force open your eyes. They weren't working. You tried to walk, you tried to move, but it's like you were a ghost. And then, when your eyes opened, your body moved on its own. You thought, no, this can't be happening. What's happening? And then the voice spoke again. Thank you, dear, for the new accommodations. Don't worry. Like I said, we'll get us out of this forest and beyond. Little prince. Oh, I do love taking over royalty. But, it's gonna be my coronation day. And I shouldn't be late. Or, excuse me, our coronation day. You just take a nap. Don't worry. I'll take care of everything. You tried to scream in rebuttal, but you couldn't respond. You felt chains wrap around your neck and arms and legs and chain you down. And then, you saw him move out of the forest. You saw him walk back into the guards' arms. You tried to scream at him that it wasn't you, you weren't doing this. But no one could hear you scream. You walked right into the castle and smiled. But it wasn't you. It was this creature. It walked into the throne room and it smiled at your father, the king. Why hadn't you just agreed to rule? This wouldn't be happening. The king smiled back. As the creature sat on his lap, you felt disgusted. How could this creature be pretending to be you? The day would go by, and then it would kill your father in its sleep. You'd scream out, no, this can't be happening. But it happened. And then the creature stood up and walked into the throne room. Tons of other creatures looking exactly like it, lining the hall. No, you thought. This can't be how it ends. As it sat into the throne, it smiled and spoke one final time. Now I am king. Now I am the ruler of all. And nobody shall question my rule. I rule the forest and I rule the land. And now humans shall be broken underfoot. You were scared. The trumpets roared in the room. You cried. You begged for something else to happen. You cried in your own body, watching your own father's corpse on the floor, watching as all the knights were killed and all the citizens butchered. If only you had lived up to your responsibilities. But it was too late now. Too late to save you. Too late to save this kingdom. This creature had won. This fairy, this fae. It. No. He. No. I have won.